I have the honor of presenting a special honoree award to someone who, quite frankly, when I arrived in Lansing about 3 years ago, very similar to what Judge Mack said, I thought it was, and it's a tough battle, but it's nice to know that you have legislators and people in administrative capacity who are there fighting with you shoulder to shoulder. Our Key to Recovery Special Honoree is an inspiring individual whose dedication to improving the lives of those living with mental illness is just absolutely outstanding. Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley is a forward-thinking leader intent on building the best Michigan for everyone. And this is, we talk about mental health, but what I've learned in the short time I've had to get to know him is that he really lives up to that. It's not just mental illness. It's not just people with developmental disabilities. He wants to build an inclusive Michigan for everyone. As a tireless advocate for Michigan's most vulnerable population, he has set a standard in Lansing for what it means to be a mental health advocate. We realize he has done a lot of good work in his career as the country's youngest governor, and let's stay right there for a minute because tonight just happens to be the Lieutenant Governor's 40th birthday. So I thought of embarrassing him a little bit and asking the staff to come out and do that happy, happy birthday thing like they do at Bennigan's, but I'm going to spare you that tonight. But I'll continue on. We realize how much good work he's done, but tonight we want to recognize his momentous efforts to protect Michigan citizens living with mental illness and developmental disorders. For example, he led the effort that yielded the new Restraint and Seclusion Bill, which protects our children from unlawful and sometimes barbaric treatment in our schools. He led the effort to improve what's known in Michigan as Kevin's Law, but assisted outpatient treatment, so that it is available and a useful tool for those citizens who don't understand their need for help. And it allows their caregivers and family members to help them get the help that they need. And he also brought a sense of calm to what we all feared last year when, in the governor's 2017 budget proposal, there was a proposal to turn our public mental health system over to the health maintenance organizations. And of course, that sent shockwaves through the advocacy community and for everyone who cares for someone who's living with mental illness. But the Lieutenant Governor brought us all together, 124 of us at one time, and created what is now infamously known as the Section 298 Work Group, and allowed the voices of Michigan citizens to be heard throughout the legislature, and so people really feel that their voice counts. So our special honoree this evening is Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley.
Oh, you're very kind. Please, you can sit down. Oh, thank you. I always appreciate recognition, something like this, particularly from an organization like NAMI, and just the outstanding, faithful work that is done year in and year out. And there are sometimes it feels like the wind is at your face, and sometimes it feels like maybe we got a little momentum. But NAMI's been there the whole time, and through all the ups and downs. And so I appreciate that. It's always a little bit embarrassing to get an award like this, knowing that just looking around the room, seeing so many of you that have been working on this for decades. And and today, I turned 40 today, And it's not over the hill. I think it was like top of the hill. I'm at the top of the hill right now. And but it's great to spend my birthday with so many people that care about the issues that not enough people have cared about in the past. And it's just a bigger question of how do we create a world that works better for everybody, every single person, and to make sure that our communities have a place for every person, and that our communities are well equipped to help people to achieve their best selves, to live up to their potential, and to have the tools and the resources to make that happen. So I was with ARC of Oakland County last night, and now being here with you tonight, I just want to encourage you that there's a tremendous amount of power and muscle behind you and what you can do. Not because of people like me. In fact, I'm not successful unless there's literally an army of people out there in the world, regular people that decide they're going to make the system listen. And I've seen in several instances, and some of the examples that were given, whether it was the limitation on the barbaric restraint and seclusion practices, that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this group of parents and advocates that were out there demanding that the system listen, because they're, the giant interest groups of the political system, they're not plugged into these issues usually, and so that means that it has to be grassroots, and there's a lot of power, and sometimes you might feel powerless, but it makes a difference if we can figure out a way to stick together, and that's why when we're talking about the layers of the system, so we got consumers and families and advocates and those who deliver services to them, and then you've got the system above that sets the policy. That those all have to stay aligned and stay together and keep focused on building the best world for the person that we're trying to help. And then when it comes to healthy brains, right, healthcare from the neck up, whether we're talking about substance use disorders or traumatic brain injuries or developmental disabilities or mental illnesses, that this is those are all different things that I just mentioned, but we face so many of the same societal stigmas and exclusion, and we're so well aligned in what we need that we need to look at victories in one of those areas as victories for all of us. And helping to make victories happen needs to be all of our jobs for each of those areas. So we don't get to say, substance use disorders, that's not really what we do. We don't get to say, well, traumatic brain injuries, those really aren't, that's a little different than what the type of work that we're dealing with. Mental illness and developmental disabilities, that our interests are so well aligned that we might as well stay teamed up and make sure that we remain teamed up going forward. The final thing I'll say, I just want to ask you to engage in something very specifically in the near term, and that is in this year's executive budget recommendation, there is finally, way overdue and embarrassingly small, and yet it's still going to be hard to get approved, but a raise for care workers, the frontline staff. If you could just make a couple minutes to send an email or make a call or show up to coffee hours or something like that with the decision makers in this process to say, we at least need to approve what the governor proposed. And it should be higher even. There's a lot of competition for resources, just one of those areas where it'll make it, what we're talking about is making sure that we get the type of payment system where we can have frontline workers that are working with the people that we love, right, that they're getting paid what they're worth. And together, we can make that happen. So this year we could take a step on that. If you could just find time to send an email or make a call to support that effort, it'd go a long way. Thank you so much for the recognition.